Thanks for joining us here this afternoon. And as many of you know, for about 7.5 years, the NDP constantly said that they were government in waiting. And each and every day since they formed government over these last 6 months, we absolutely see that in reality, they actually were just hanging around and waiting around, because the last few months have basically shown us that they're totally unprepared to be governing this province. A significant portion of the bills they brought forward were already being worked on while we were in government. And due to the disorganization by the government House Leader, many of the bills that the NDP had promised to bring forward during the election did not make it into the chamber this spring. Similar to their budget, this NDP legislative agenda was not as advertised and is very, very light. Today, myself and some of our critics and our PC team are announcing our designated bills. Each and every year, opposition parties have the opportunity to hold back and designate some of the bills. And so we're going to be talking about those 4 that we're holding over till the fall. These bills that we're holding over are going to provide Manitobans some more time. Stakeholders also need more time to review the bills. And also what we're hoping is that the NDP will reconsider some of the bills as well and scrap them altogether. We know that the NDP are attempting to distract Manitobans from their real agenda. And I know many of you are sitting back and thinking, what is their real agenda? Well, their real agenda are raising taxes, increasing the cost of housing, cutting schools and daycare spaces, and of course, increases to the surgical wait lists caused by their capacity cuts. I have a number of our critics and our House Leader here to elaborate a little bit on the bills that we're going to be designating. So I am going to pass things over to our House Leader, Mr. Derek Johnson.
As our leader mentioned, this has been an extremely disorganized spring legislative session from the NDP government. The NDP brought forward such a light legislative agenda that we choose not to designate a full 5 bills. Many of the bills brought forward were already in the works, as mentioned by our government, and they are not new NDP policy, nor are they what the NDP chose to campaign on in the last election. A number of the bills the NDP did campaign on are still sitting on the order paper, waiting to be introduced. We look forward to debating them if the government ever gets around to calling them forward. We will be designating these following bills.
So we are going to designate Bill 21, the Public Schools Amendment Act bill. It does 2 main things. First is to reduce the age at which a child has the right to go to school in Manitoba, and secondly, to reduce the age at which a child must or is required to go to school in Manitoba. And so as a policy position, as progressive Conservatives, we are not opposed to this from a principle perspective. It brings us better in line with the rest of the country. The problem is our new education minister has not done his homework. We have surging student populations across the province. We now have an education minister introducing a policy which will even more increase the number of students who will be required to be attending our public schools. And yet we have the same minister and the same government cutting the construction of 9 new schools across the province and delivering no plan to enhance school capacity in Manitoba or to follow through on their election commitment to reduce class sizes. If they're not building new schools, are they building portable classrooms? Are they putting classrooms in gymnasiums? We have no idea because this minister has not outlined his plan. He has no data to back up his commitment to follow through with this legislation. We have no idea how many more students this will add to our public school system. And so we are holding this bill over to give the minister a little bit more time to do his homework.
So as the critic for Labour and Immigration, we are holding back Bill 7, the Project Tendering Repeal Act. The NDP are repealing a piece of legislation that provided a level playing field for all bidders and ensured that evaluation was done based on ability to provide quality work, time, and on budget. Manitobans, whether they're unionized or non-unionized alike, should have equal opportunity to bid and be awarded on public projects. The NDP are being reckless with the public dollar and going to cost taxpayers more money in the end of these projects. This will have a negative impact on the construction of our highways, schools. This is going to cost taxpayers more money, and none of us want to see that. No Manitoban should be forced to pay union dues. And with the repeal of this, that's the concern out there. And it's going to potentially put other contractors and tenders at risk. Bill 9 is the Employment Standards Act. Changes go further than other provinces have. They are proposing 17 to 27 weeks. Other jurisdictions have not made this change to match that federal length of time. And Manitobans are concerned with this, about this legislation, that it impacts their rights. And employers are concerned with this as well. It might change the look of their workforce for some businesses. Thorough and transparent engagement is important when we look at this, and we feel that further consultation is needed when we look into this bill.
I'm here to talk about Bill 16 as one of the bills that we have designated for this session. The Regulatory Accountability Reporting Act and amendments to the Statutes and Regulations Act. In my opinion, Manitobans deserve an accountable and transparent government. Manitoba, under the former PC government, was seen as a leader in red tape reduction. One of the directives in this new act is shortening the period required for consultation on these acts from 45 days to 30 days, and gives individuals and organizations less time to consider potential regulations put forward by government. The minister has failed to detail what the government's regulatory accountability initiatives are or will be. Reducing unnecessary red tape is really a low-cost but high-reward benefit for all Manitobans. By disbanding the Secretariat and repealing the Act, the NDP have clearly shown that they have little regard for regulatory accountability to Manitobans. And with that,